Good evening, everybody, and welcome to TV 19's live election coverage, Winchester's town election, Decision 88. I'm Alan Iden, and joining me here at the anchor desk tonight is Laurel Lucas. Good evening, Laurel. We've got you up yet? Okay, and on the other side of me, a noted local figure, noted for what I don't know, but town moderator John Sullivan. Good evening, John.
Good evening to both of you. Pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to have you here. For the next 2 hours here, we're going to be bringing you live coverage. We have reporters out in the field. We have people at the polls collecting the results as fast as they can, and we will bring them to you as fast as we can. In the meantime, we have an hour to 2 hours, depending on how fast our results come in, of election coverage, including analysis, and we have a few little interesting items on elections in the past. And we're going to go to one of them right now. TV 19 reporter Bob Gallant has a rather interesting retrospective piece on voting practices in the past.
If you're under 45, the chances are this is the only way you've ever voted in Winchester, behind the curtains of a voting machine. Now, everything is strictly mechanical about this process. You step inside the booth. You reach for this big lever. You throw the big lever one way. The curtains close. And a bell sounds to tell you your vote has been counted. Now, here, in the privacy of this little booth, you reach for these little levers and you cast your vote. When you're through there, you reach for the big lever. You pull it and you open the curtains and your vote is tallied. And that's it. The process is completely mechanical. And that's the trouble with machines. They take all the adventure out of voting. Before things like voting machines came along, you had to vote by hand by paper ballot. Now, sometimes the ballot was a yard long, and it unfolded, kind of like a road map. Of course, if you're not over 45, you probably don't remember road maps either. Anyway, you took your ballot into a three-sided little cubicle where there was a shelf to mark your ballot on and the stub of a pencil at the end of a piece of string to mark your ballot with. The thing was, you had to mark your ballot plainly, and you had to stay within the lines, because if you didn't, your vote didn't get counted. Talk about pressure. Now, if you really messed up your ballot, you could ask for another. And if you botched the second one, you could get a third. But if you blew all three, it was sayonara. 3 strikes and you were out of the voting booth and out of the whole darn election. Then, after you marked all your X's, you refolded the ballot about as well as you can refold a road map. And then you stuck it into a slot cut in the top of a wooden ballot box. The voting official turned this little crank on the side. The box sucked in the ballot, and a little bell rang to tell you that your vote had been counted. Now, that's all that's left of the old voting process. The little bell that rings to tell you when your vote has been counted. Except, of course, for these authentic voting booth pencil stubs, which we'll offer for sale later on in this program. Stay tuned for local election coverage.
Interesting, John, to see how voting practices have changed over the years from the crank-in ballot boxes to the computers of today, or I don't know whether you would call a voting machine a computer in the pure sense of the word, but...
Well, probably not, but it's going to be interesting this year because this is the first year that Winchester's town clerk, Carolyn Ward, is going to be using computers to tabulate the election results. Essentially, if you're not familiar with the machines, the back of the machines have a big piece of paper, maybe 3 feet by 4 feet, and that prints out when they close the machine of all the votes by candidates, and that goes down to the town clerk. And historically, they've tabulated off of that, making lists by hand, checking them, and then adding them up with an adding machine. And this year, for the first time, they're going to take that sheet, which should arrive at the town hall sometime after 8:15, probably 8:15 to 8:30.
Would that depend on how many people might still be in line?
And how fast
vote?
how fast they get it down there. But if it's like last year, if you remember the inclement weather, people were in line for a half hour or so. I don't think that'll be the case today. But then they'll take that machine down, that paper down to the town hall, and they will input using 2 terminals in the town clerk's office directly into the town's VAX machine. And hopefully in a very quick turnaround, they're going to get not only an unofficial first pass of the election results, but they're also going to calculate the percentage for each candidate by precinct, which makes some interesting instant analysis, if you will, if you can get your hands on that. The other thing it's
which
going
we hope to do.
Yeah, and
Right.
it's, one of the things is that, which I'm not too happy about, is they're going to indicate how many blanks each candidate gets. And, for those of us that are unopposed, we don't like to know who blanks us in the booth there.
In case they're not aware,
The moderator's blank button doesn't work. So,
yeah, I see.
They glued it shut.
right.
It is important to note for those of you who aren't aware of it that Mr. Sullivan is a candidate as well as reporting here tonight. But we don't feel it's any kind of a conflict of interest since he is running unopposed. But it would be a little disconcerting if the blanks outnumber the votes, wouldn't it?
Yeah, see a grown man cry live.
Live and in color. You've been following some of the election activity here in town?
Yeah,
the fact
some
that we
of
only
it.
have the 2 contested offices.
Yeah, it's pretty focused this time. It's selectmen and assessors, and besides the moderator. How many years is it now that you've been
This is
running?
my 11th.
11th, yeah,
11th
okay.
as moderator.
All right.
Well,
And that's a
One more to
big.
go.
and then you get your pension.
And then run for selectman.
Oh,
Yeah, do they have a pension for a moderator?
Yes, you get the same amount as your annual salary.
I heard it was
Zero,
double.
Yeah.
I heard it was double. I've been told that we have a report coming in from one of our field reporters now. Steve D'Onofrio has a report from the Vincent Owens School, and let's go to that report now.
Thank you, Ellen. I'm Steve D'Onofrio here at Precincts 5 and 6 here at the Vincent Owens School, and with me is the warden for Precinct 6, Lucille Grassi. Lucille, we certainly had a beautiful day if you were one of the many voters who got out, but the question is, do we have many voters that came out this year?
I think we had a pretty good turnout this year. We run the competition with our Precinct 6 and 5, and Precinct 6 has had 460 voters, and right now Precinct 5 has about 450.
Now, you'd mentioned earlier it's kind of a healthy little competition, and you said, oh, 450 for us, Precinct 6, that's pretty good, but they edged us out, a little disappointment.
Well, we have another 45 minutes to go, so we might make it yet.
So you think we'll catch Precinct 5 then?
Somebody out there is calling up voters, and they're coming out.
Well, I imagine this is the semi-post dinner time hour, and it must get a little bit busy, as we can see from behind us at this time.
Right after work, when the trains come in and the commuters come home, and then again right after dinner.
And I'm sure that's when everyone who's running for office keeps their fingers crossed.
I hope so.
Okay, Lucille, how about in past years? Has this year been a little bit busier, or is it about on average for the usual for past years?
It feels like it's above average. I'm not sure that I'm a good measure of that because we changed the number of voters in the precinct. But we have 1,500 voters, close to 1,600 voters, with almost 500 showing up. So we have almost a third of our voters, and that's got to be good.
And you've been on the go for the entire day for all of this.
Since 6:30 this morning.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Lucille, and I'm sure it'll be interesting as we head to the down stretch. Let's head back to Alan Iden and the crew. For Decision 88, I'm Steve D'Onofrio.
Great, thank you very much, Steve. And Steve will be joining us again a little later on with some more reports from the polls. John, I know you've been a perennial observer. I think that's right. Yeah, perennial observer of
Like a flower.
town elections. Yeah, blossoming every spring. You must have some observations on the fact that we only have 2 contested offices this time, and how the campaigns are run.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting year. If we look first at the selectmen's race, we have 4 candidates. We have 2 incumbents, Judy Muser and Mark Lombardi, and then 2 challenges, Steve Powers coming back a second time after a narrow defeat a year ago, and a new entry, Candy Margles. It's an interesting race, and there's a lot of people trying to analyze it as it comes down to the wire. It's been spirited. It's been a good market for roof racks around town, and I think it really has people doing independent analysis. One of the interesting analysis, if you look at it from a conservative liberal approach first, it seems that you have Mark Lombardi representing the conservative element and playing very aggressively, as he always has, on the conservative theme for the operation of the town. On the other side of the spectrum, you have people that one might classify as more liberal, in some people's minds anyway, and with a real focus more on the such things as education and override of Proposition 2.5, and you have maybe Candy Margles and Judy Muser capturing that side a little bit, with Steve Powers sort of in the middle. There are those that feel that it's going to be a tight race. It's tough to beat an incumbent, an incumbent who has been in service and done a good job, and one who has been visible. And I think that both Judy and Mark have fit both of those criteria. And yet, on the other hand, this is a time which, for the first time in a few years, is a very finite issue on the table. And that issue right now has developed, whether it's correct or not, that the campaign may be boiling down to what everybody feels about an override of Proposition 2.5, and should we be spending more money or trying to cut back, and the debate rages on. I'm not sure that we really focus that much on the issue except that broad question, and I think it's probably there'll be more analysis afterwards trying to figure out what it means. Of course, if we get one from each end of the spectrum, the debate will go on. But it's going to be an interesting. You get 4 really good people that are out there putting their time in for a race here, and I think it's going to be kind of exciting. And I think I've got a handle now after talking to the town clerk on what the turnout might be, but I think we might see a tight race tonight, and I think we're going to have the results earlier than a lot of people expect this year.
I figure we'll be off the air by about 8:20 with the results.
Well, if we are, it's going to be a short night, but I don't think so. But I wouldn't be surprised if we have a pretty good handle on the way the race is going before 9 o'clock, and that's just a gut guess based on what I've seen on the turnout and the good weather.
You mentioned about the turnout being better than last year. Do we have any kind of percentage on that, or?
Well, it's hard in Winchester to judge that. I always vote early in the morning, so if I want to vote a second time, I can get it in
early
before the
on
end of the day. Yeah. But I voted as I had the #1 ticket in Precinct 4 today, beating out Hank Scan, who he and his wife were down there trying to take my slot, but I beat them by about 10 minutes. And they will continue to try, but won't take the ticket.
Is this a annual rivalry?
Annual. I slept over last night.
Out there. You were the ones. Yeah, we were hoping for a report of you out in your sleeping bag.
I'll bet there were 20 folks out there when the polls opened this
Really?
morning.
Like Springsteen tickets, huh?
Yeah. I think from what I understand, talking to Carolyn Ward, that at 3 o'clock this afternoon, the count was 18% higher than it was last year at the same time. But I think, as Laura pointed out earlier when we were chatting about that, I remember, Laura, we had some pretty rough weather about a year ago.
It's a lot nicer today to go out and you could walk to the polls today. It's lovely.
So I think that, I would just say that last year we did 28% in an election that was contested probably not as heavily as this. And I'd be very surprised if we didn't have at least 28%. And if I was going to guess, I'd guess it will have maybe a 30% turnout, which would be, say, 3,600 voters. If we have more than that, I'll be very, very pleased.
Is that good?
Well, yeah, I think, especially in an election year, this is a presidential election year, we've had a primary, we all love our right to vote, but at the end of the day, you only can go so many times to the polls,
Right.
and I mean, I know, I think I speak for a lot of people, you get, as much as I love politics, I get pretty tired of hearing the news every night. It seems like the same message in another location every single night.
The only good thing about it is that when you voted, that's it, it's over.
Yeah.
At least for one
At
facet
least
of
one,
it,
that's
either
correct.
local elections or
Yeah.
presidential or the primary. That's the end of it. So there's something to look forward to.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on how a heavy turnout might affect any of the candidates for selectmen versus a light turnout?
Well, let's see. I would say that if we had a heavy turnout, I would think that probably the beneficiary of that might be a Candy Margles. I think a heavy turnout with a new face in the race, someone who comes essentially with an endorsement from a lot of heavily involved school folks, that if they get out and vote, then she's going to have a major play, where an incumbent tends to have a fixed proportion of votes. I think, I think Mark Lombardi has a built-in constituency here based on his performance in office and based on the platform which he has consistently stood on in public life. And so I think, I wouldn't think that a heavy turnout would be as advantageous to him as it would to a newcomer like Candy. I think probably Judy Muger wouldn't be affected. Maybe Steve Powers would be helped as well by a heavy turnout.
You think basically then, a heavy turnout could be a lot of new voters or people who normally wouldn't vote and are brought out by a new candidate or a new face?
Oh yeah, I think so. I mean, the old story is that the old Irish Boston politician in the wards used to pray for rain because he knew his votes would get out because they had worked for him before. That's not true with somebody with a new organization, even though the organization works hard, I think that's why I think it's going to be a tight race tonight, because of I could be all wet, but we'll find out.
Not today.
That's the nice part about making predictions here. You
Right.
go by 9, and I'll have a chance to deny him by 9:30.
Yeah, and hopefully it won't be on tape so that nobody will be able to come back and play it back to you. We've been concentrating on the selectmen's race. We have another contested race, which is the Board of Assessors. We have one seat open on the Board of Assessors, and for a 3-year term, and 3 contenders.
Yeah, that is really an interesting race, and I think that race was a sleeper until the League of Women Voters candidates for him, and I think that has opened up, and it's turned into a very, very interesting race. I have no feel for it other than I know the 3 candidates. Charles Shannon, of course, is I guess you'd call him an incumbent.
Well,
He was
that's tricky.
appointed as
Right.
opposed to having been
He is.
elected. So, I mean, he's got name recognition going for him, but when you talk about name recognition and you look at Eugene V. Rotundi, I mean, that's
There's name recognition. Yeah.
Gene has run for office. There's only one person in town that's run more than him, and that's me. And Gene was a town meeting member for years, and a very active one, and a very good one. And he ran, of course, every 3 years for many years. I'd be willing to bet he probably served 30 years in town meeting if I was to guess. A guy who's really well known in town. Obviously, his son, Sam Rotundi, was a state senator, so he has name recognition as well. The guy, though, who has really added the spice, I think, to the race here is Dave McLucas, who has campaigned really aggressively for first-time out guy. The three candidates appeared at the League of Women Voters, all did an outstanding job, I thought, in answering the questions, and I think McLucas has really banged out some visibility here in the closing weeks of the election. So this could be a coin toss. I think in a race like that,
Does this mean you're not about to go out on a limb?
well, I'll predict that one of those three candidates will win, and will win big.
Ah, okay.
And,
Well, that's a little
but
bit daring.
I think it's just going to be who caught the voter's eye here in the last 2 weeks, and that's going to be an interesting race.
Let's see what else we had on the ballot today. We had one vacancy for the Board of Health and one candidate, Dorothea Sopper. The Planning Board had 2 vacancies for 3 years and 2 candidates, Judith Wiegand and Joseph E. Garnetta. School Committee, kind of a surprise. School Committee usually a pretty hotly contested race in past years, hasn't it been?
Yeah, I was kind of surprised. You've got two name brands running here.
Yeah.
You know, you got Ed O'Connell, newcomer. I'll have him down here in 10 minutes if I say that. Ed's been around a while in Winchester politics. He started on the library trustees, went to the Board of Selectmen, and then on to the school committee. And Donna Brandt Landry is an incumbent who has spent many years in working for the Winchester school system. I think that the school folks, the people that follow the schools closely, and you know, must be satisfied with the 2 incumbents. Unlike maybe the Board of Selectmen, where it's more to the candidates. The parents that have children in there want good people representing them, and if they don't feel that they're out there, they get people to run. And you know, I think the thing that if the Proposition 2.5 debate had come a little bit earlier in the ballgame, you might have seen some other folks out there. You know, I personally think that the Winchester school system is the basic key to the economics of the town of Winchester, and you know, everything else aside, the quality of education in the town is what keeps the real estate values the way they are, and keeps houses selling in this town. Not to mention, of course, the most important part of it is the development of the youth in the community. But and I think the town is very sensitive to that, and I don't think the lack of candidates here in this case is a negative at all. I think that just represents that at the present time, the town is satisfied with the quality of the leadership being provided by the school committee.
Interesting, nevertheless, though. You would expect to see a little competition. There's always room for change, and
well, that Ed, he's a big fundraiser.
Yeah.
And, you know,
moving on, let's see what else we have. We have a library trustee vacancy for 3 years, and one candidate for that. That is Lane McGovern, and one vacancy for 5 years on the Winchester Housing Authority, and that's Joseph Riga. And wrapping up the ballot, except for the town meeting members, is one vacancy, 2-year vacancy on the Housing Authority, and that's being the one candidate for that is R. Bradford Bailey. And I'm now told that we do have a report coming in from Lincoln School from Ann Throckmorton, and let's check on that report right now. Ann?
I'm here at the Lincoln Elementary School where voters from precincts 3 and 4 come to cast their votes. Reports vary on the voter turnout. Margaret Hemmingson, the warden from the 4th precinct, says voting has been steady all day long, but others feel differently. In precinct 3, the turnout was slightly under 30%, the same as last year when a major storm hit the Winchester area. Maybe this year people stayed in and did their house cleaning instead. Here with me now is Lillian Urey, the warden from precinct 3. Mrs. Urey, could you tell me why the turnout was, the same as last year?
I'm not sure. There's never a great deal of interest in the town elections, and I think it's a pity because the things that happen here today are extremely important in terms of the town's future. I also thought that with such lovely weather, we'd be getting more people in here today, but I guess they stayed home to rake the garden or do something like that.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
You're
Appreciate you being with us tonight. Okay, turnout was a little higher in Precinct 4, the home of Candace Margles, who is running in the hotly contested selectmen's race. From the Lincoln School, I'm Ann Throckmorton for Decision 88.
Okay, thank you, Ann, for that report from Lincoln School. That's Ann Throckmorton. It looks like we're starting to get some results coming in here. Want to give us a little quick analysis of what we got so far before we get the actual figures up?
Yeah, the way I see this coming down right now, let's talk about Precinct 7, which is the up at Lynch, which covers the so-called flats area in Winchester. It looks to me at a quick pass at the numbers that we have the Judy Muger leading in Precinct 7, and a real horse race for second place in Precinct 7 between Steve Powers and Candy Margles, with Mark Lombardi trailing at some good length for number 4. In Precinct 8, very interesting, also at Lynch, but obviously a different geographical area, heading more up towards the Noonan School. We've got, coming out of 8, we've got Steve Powers leading, and leading handily, it looks like, in Precinct 8. And coming in second, is Judy Muger, followed very closely by Mark Lombardi. So right now, with while the folks are tallying those up in the back room there, it would appear to me that this is going to be a horse race. I would, just looking at the two precincts quickly, my judgment would be that you have probably Judy Muger leading in the two precincts, and second place Steve Powers. Obviously, those are two areas. Steve Powers was expected to carry, I believe, Precinct 8, and he did that. And I would think that Judy Muger could be expected to carry Precinct 7, and she certainly did that. So this could be a real horse race.
Early returns here. Okay. No surprises, or some surprises, or?
No,
it's still really early.
I don't think so.
Way
I
too
think
early to tell.
probably if I had to, the one thing that's very interesting is in Precinct 7 back there, that I think the strong second place horse race that Candy Margles is coming forth with. It didn't look like she held that strength going into Precinct 8, but right now this race is far from over, and that represents roughly 20%.
Well, let's give the people at home who might be looking to keep their own little tallies here. Laurel, maybe you can give us the actual hard numbers on those so that people can start toting them up. And,
Okay, I'll be glad to do that. Let's start with Precinct 7 then. As John and Alan were saying, the winner in Precinct 7 in the selectmen's race appears to be Judith Muger with 396 votes. Mark Lombardi has 128 votes, Stephen Powers 261, and in second place Candy Margles with 267. And in the assessor's race for Precinct 7, we have Charles Shannon receiving 179 votes. J. David McLucas takes Precinct 7 with 212 votes, and Eugene B. Rotundi has 127 votes. As for Precinct 8, well, let's keep going here. Do you want to keep going on the? Okay, we'll have those Precinct 8 figures for you in just a minute. On the other races, well, it seems like you've gotten 459 votes. We don't have any indication of blanks for John Sullivan yet in Precinct 7.
We did get a report on that. There were no blanks.
I don't believe it. No blanks. How do you like that? Okay, that may be a record. Okay, are we ready for Precinct 8 votes? Okay. Looks like you did top the voting there in Precinct 7 anyway. I don't see anyone who else who got 459 votes.
Laura, let's, for a second there, on Precinct 7, as you read off those numbers, you had Judy Muger with, was it 396?
Yeah, that's quite a lead.
And who was
That is her-
267? Was that
That was Candy Margles,
Candy Margles,
Right.
and then Steve Powers at
followed quickly by Steve.
So coming
Powers.
out of Precinct 7, based on your report there, we've got Judy with almost 140 vote lead coming out of, and I think that's her home precinct or abutting it.
Yes.
And you have Steve Powers and Candy separated by 6 votes, with
Very close,
Mark
yeah.
Lombardi at 128.
Right.
Those it'd be interesting to see how those Precinct 8 votes look in there. Obviously, on the assessors race coming out of that Precinct 7, you've got McLucas at 212 and Shannon at 179. That race is obviously going to be decided probably on the up in Precinct 8 maybe. We may have a real good indication there because if Gene Rotundi doesn't draw well up in 8, I would say the race is going to come down to between Shannon and McLucas.
Okay.
So I'm dying to see those at Precinct 8.
We do have the Precinct 8 figures now.
Oh.
For selectmen in Precinct 8, Judith Muja received 173 votes. That's second place for her. Mark Lombardi, 147 votes. Stephen Powers took Precinct 8 in the selectmen category with 265 votes. And Candace Margles received 139 votes. In the assessors category, Charles Shannon received 169 votes. He got the most votes in Precinct 8. J. David McLucas received 82 votes, and Eugene Rotundi 138. And that's Precinct 7 and Precinct 8, and there doesn't seem to be much of a pattern there. We'll have to get some more precincts in before we establish some kind of pattern, right, Alan?
Before we project our winners? Or,
Yes, in our instant computer analysis, we'll have a projection of the winners pretty soon.
and speaking of instant computer analysis,
Yes, I just was doodling here.
that's what we need.
Let me tell you how I see this coming out of 2 precincts, and obviously this is just a hand tally here based on the numbers that Lauren just read. I have Mark Lombardi with 275, Judy Muger with 569, Candy Margles with 306, and Steve Powers with 526. So with 2 precincts in out of 8, it looks like Muger and Steve Powers both leading the other candidates by over 200 votes. Need a couple other precincts before you can draw any real conclusions on that. Those are what I would expect to be strong precincts for Judy Muger.
Judy's
And,
Judy's
she's
home
in-
precinct
in
is
7,
7. Steve
and,
is in 6, so you can't really draw any
Yeah, and
conclusions on
Steve,
that.
I'm quite sure, expected to draw well in 8 in talking to him over the weekend. So
Really?
I have some totals for the assessors. It appears that Charles Shannon is leading in the combined total for 7 and 8. He has 348 votes, according to my tabulation. David McLucas has 294, and Eugene Rotundi has 265. So Charles Shannon appears to be doing well in the first results of Precinct 7 and 8.
yeah, and my earlier comment that Gene Rotundi would have to pull hard in 8 to stay in there, he did, and there's not a lot of space between those 3 candidates. That could go either way based on the 2 we have. There's only 80 votes between them, and that swing could turn right around in 2 other precincts. So that very, very interesting results coming in. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens up in Precinct 1 and 2. 1 and 2, of course, are up on the Forest Street and Stone and Wine and coming down Highland Avenue. That ought to be strong territory for Mark Lombardi. Obviously, if somebody can build up a 300 vote lead in 2 precincts, that can be wiped out in 2 other precincts, and it's going to be very interesting. We just happened to get 2 abutting precincts at the same time, which makes our analysis a little suspect right yet. The numbers look good, but still too early to call.
Still too early to call it. Well, we've still got our runners out in the field, and they're going to be bringing in the results, and as we speak, they're coming in. And if you'll just stay with us, we'll be back in just a minute or so with more election results and more election analysis. Stay with us.
I had a little mistake in that.
And it shows. Cable gives a choice to you. You've got it, and it shows. It's the latest news for you. The best in sports and movies too. Whenever you need it, you've got it, and it shows. You've got the best on Continental. On quality shows. You'll find friendly people here. You've got it, and it shows. We'll show how much we care about you. You've got it, and it shows. We've got the latest shows to view. Everything we do for you. Whenever you need it, you've got it, and it shows. You've got the best on Continental. On quality shows.
Around the world in 30 minutes, this is Headline News.
This just in from the Middle East. Lebanese President Amin Gemayel.
Let's check the latest headline sports.
This is Sandy Kenyon with the Hollywood Minute.
The nation's weather map today promises a mild weekend.
Around the world every 30 minutes, this is Headline News.
Get ready for tomorrow. Watch the Headline News Network tonight. Get the headline habit. Superstation WTBS means great American television. Family programs that capture the spirit of adventure that made this great land of liberty. Portrait of America, the award-winning series, visits a different state each month. It's a proud celebration of the people and places that make this the greatest nation on earth. World of Audubon takes a stunning look at our wildlife and what we must do to keep it thriving. And there's CNN's special reports where world resource problems are given a face and a solution. But if it's adventure you're looking for, go for it with National Geographic Explorer, a thriller that takes you beyond the edge of your seat to the places of your wildest dreams. And join Jacques Cousteau, the world's greatest explorer, for rediscovery of the world, a 5-year adventure through a world we thought we knew. Special entertainment for a nation looking proudly to its future. That's great American television, only on Superstation WTBS.
Standing by in the field, we have a report now from Ann Throckmorton, and she is with candidate Judy Muja.
Thank you, Alan. I'm here at Judy Muja's home. The polls have closed just minutes ago, and now the counting begins, as well as the waiting. All of the candidates do have courier systems set up wherein people run back and forth to and from the precincts and their houses with the counts. And right now, Mrs. Muja and her campaign entourage are waiting for the first results. Can you tell me if this has been a particularly hard or unusual race for you this year?
Not unusual compared to last year, but with 4 people for 2 spots and good candidates running strong campaigns and a lot of tough issues. So it's been an unusual year from that point of view. There's a lot of attention being paid, and I kind of hope to see the count up, the number of people voting.
What issue do you think has been the toughest?
Money. No, the budget issue, because we knew 7 years ago when the town passed Proposition 2.5 that the growth in income wouldn't meet the growth in expenses, and push would come to shove, and the deficit appeared this year. Tom Grew, the former town manager, he suggested fiscal year 88. We've hit it in fiscal year 89. And there are a lot of ways to solve the problem or work at it, and I think we're going to do it with a combination of efforts. But the whole question of an override or a debt exemption, the fears that the schools are going to be impacted, municipal service, that whole thing is the big thing, I think.
Do you feel your job as the chairman of the Board of Selectmen has made it harder for you to make a stand on these issues and still run a re-election campaign?
Not for me, and I remember discussing that. I think in a small town, when you run, you make clear, whether you're chairman or not, you make clear, I think, through your term where you're coming from, and there's just no point to waffling for the sake of an election. One of my boys asked me 3 years ago, "Mom, are you prepared to lose?" And, you know, he was being supportive and concerned. And I said, you know, our lives and my happiness don't depend on being a selectman, and much as I love it. You know, so I felt the same way now, that there's no point to waffling on the issues. You're where you're at, and you explain yourself, and I feel like I've done the homework and have my positions for good reasons. And I have to hope that's enough for the voters.
Well, thank you, Mrs. Muja. We really appreciate your time. Reporting from the headquarters of Judy Muja, I'm Ann Throckmorton for Decision 88.
Okay, thank you, Ann, for that report with candidate Judy Muja. And as we speak, our results are coming in fast and furious. And fast and furious, there's Laurel poking away on the calculator there. Can you want to give us some more results here?
Actually, I'm in the middle of tabulating, but I will stop and try to give a little preview of what the results are so far. Looks like we have the precincts coming in very fast and furious. In Precinct 1, it appears that, well, it's very tight in Precinct 1 in the Selectmen's race. Stephen Powers seems to be leading in Precinct 1, followed very quickly by Judith Muja. In Precinct 2 in the Selectmen's race, or let me see, should I go to Assessors or Selectmen here? Assessors, okay. In the Assessors race in Precinct 1, it appears that Eugene Rotundi has led that one. Charles Shannon has 172 votes, David McLucas has 101 votes, and Eugene Rotundi has 261 votes. So in the Precinct 1, it appears that, well, it's a very tight race for Selectmen, and it seems to be Eugene Rotundi's precinct here as far as assessors go. In terms of the other votes coming up, we will have Precinct 2 in just a minute. And the rest of the precincts will be tallying as soon as we get the numbers together.
All right.
In fact, we're going calculator going full speed here.
Why don't we give you a break and get you a chance to get some of those hard numbers together? And
well, I think I can give you Precinct 2 right now. How's that?
all right, let's take Precinct 2.
Okay, Precinct 2. Again, well, this is really tough to tell. Again, we have Judith Muja and Selectmen getting 175 votes. Mark Lombardi 177, just 2 votes difference there. Stephen Powers 185, and Candace Margles 113 votes. In the assessors race in Precinct 2, we have Charles Shannon with 122 votes, David McLucas with 52 votes, and Eugene Rotundi 184. So again, it appears that in Precinct 2, it's a tight race. Stephen Powers has the most votes for Selectmen in Precinct 2, followed by Mark Lombardi and Judy Muja, who are only 2 votes apart. And in assessors, Eugene Rotundi is again in the lead. And we have Precinct 5 results coming up now. In Precinct 5, Judy Muja received 286 votes for Selectmen. Mark Lombardi, 137. That's a big difference there in Precinct 5. Then Stephen Powers received 248, and Candace Margles received 200. These are unofficial vote totals, of course. As in the assessors race in Precinct 5, we have 197 votes for Charles Shannon, 101 votes for David McLucas, and 147 votes for Eugene Rotundi. So this is a precinct where Charles Shannon has taken the lead over Eugene Rotundi. However, we don't have all the totals for the various precincts. And we're going to be working on that and trying to bring you the other precincts and the totals as quickly as we can. And I must say, this is record time for receiving results. The new computer system must be working. I hope our calculators can keep up with town hall computers.
We got several horse races going here, and maybe you'd like to take this opportunity to stick your neck out and maybe make a few predictions. It seems that in all the races, well, both the assessors and the selectmen's race, we got a lot of seesaw totals.
Yeah, I'd be willing to make a prediction on the selectmen's race. Based on the numbers I've seen here to date, it's going to take a while to tally it up, but my prediction is that Judy Muge is going to top the ticket, and that second place is going to go to Steve Powers. And that's the numbers that I see coming in now. Judy has topped the ticket. I would predict that Steve Powers won't be more than 10% behind her, and that probably another 10 or 15% behind Steve will be Candy Margles and Mark Lombardi. It looks like right now will be the number 4 candidate. Based on the numbers that we've seen to date, they seem pretty consistent across town. There's some shifting in precincts between Candy Margles and Steve Powers, but I feel comfortable that based on the numbers that I've seen come across the date when the computers get done adding them up, you're going to see Judy Muge top the ticket and Steve Powers come in second.
Okay. All right. Well, we do have a report. We do have one of our reporters standing by with Steve Powers, and Steve D'Onofrio is with him. Steve?
Thank you, Alan. Right now I'm at Vincent Owen School, and with me is Steve Powers. Steve, roughly about 7:30, I spoke to the warden of Precinct 6, and there was a combined total for Precincts 5 and 6 of a little over 900 voters that turned out. And being your neighborhood, I'm sure you must be concerned with Precincts 5 and 6. And what were the final numbers, and were you pleased or disappointed with the turnout so far?
Okay, thank you, Steve. I think that the turnout was a little better than maybe what we had expected in 5 and 6. I think that my people did a good job up here in 5 and 6. I have the total numbers if you want them. I can give you the total numbers if I find a sheet of paper. I only have total 5 and 6, which are accurate numbers. Judy Muge did 514 votes. Mark Lombardi did 262 votes. Steve Powers did 560 votes. And Candace Margles did 359, and I think that my people did a good job up here. I don't know whether it'll be good enough to carry across town, but I'm proud of my vote total up in 5 and 6.
Okay, so you can thank your neighbors when you pass them on the way to work and school?
Absolutely. I think one thing that must be said, though, and will be said again and again, is that I would like to see a bigger voter turnout in all these elections, because I think it's important for the people to be involved in the local elections. So I would say that I want to thank those of you, and particularly seniors. I was around all day, and the seniors were out, and I believe that probably the problem is the middle-aged people like myself that don't come out, and the seniors are to be commended, because believe me, they were out there today.
Okay.
Thank you, Steve.
So you're pleased this year. Well, the best of luck, Steve. I know we have some other precincts to look at.
The other results to get. I'm pleased with our results.
Okay. The best of luck, Steve.
Thank you.
Let's head back to the studio with Alan and the crew. For Decision 88, I'm Steve D'Onofrio.
Thanks very much, Steve. Looks like we might have a potential cable broadcaster there, the way he took over the mic from you. We have more results coming in, and let's go to Laurel right now. Laurel?
Thanks, Alan. Yes, we do have several more results. We have Precinct 3 and 6, and very shortly we will have totals for you. And I believe that some predictions that Mr. Sullivan made may be right on. For the time being, let's give you Precinct 3 results. For the selectmen, Judith Muge received 363 votes in Precinct 3. Oh, I'm sorry, we went Precinct 6. Oh, sorry. Okay, let's go to Precinct 6. Judith Muge received 228 votes. Then Mark Lombardi received 125. Stephen Powers received 312, and Candace Margles received 159. In the assessor's race in Precinct 6, Charles Shannon received 197, David McLucas received 89, Eugene Rotundi received 140 votes, So in Precinct 6, it appears that Stephen Powers has won the selectmen, and in the assessors in Precinct 6, it looks like Charles Shannon is leading. Okay, as for Precinct 3, we have some Precinct 3 results as well, and it looks like we're getting to get all the results very shortly. In Precinct 3, the selectmen's race, Judith Muja received 363 votes, Mark Lombardi 125, Stephen Powers 199, and Candace Margles 274. In the assessor's race in Precinct 3, Charles Shannon received 157, David McLucas received 170, and Eugene Rotundi received 107. Now we'll have results and final tallies for the unofficial results in all the precincts very shortly. And in fact, I think that Alan has some information about winners and projected winners at this point. Alan?
We've got some pretty hard figures there. It does seem pretty clear at this point that in the selectmen's race, Judy Muja has topped the ticket. And she is here joining us live in the studio here and speaking to John. John?
Judy.
Good evening, John. Thank you, sir.
We're all very pleased. This is the earliest, it's 9 o'clock sharp, and here we go.
That's right. My runners really ran, I think. It's always a nerve-wracking day. But
Were you surprised at the results?
I don't think it's fair to say surprised. When you work for 3 years and you have a record, there's an upside and a downside, and you just really wonder if everything you've done pleases everybody. And I received more votes this time around than last time, so that makes you feel good.
Well, it looks to me like, if someone judged whether you had good baggage or bad baggage, you had more good baggage than bad baggage because it looks to us like you had about 2,200 votes is the count that we had here. And although the tabulations aren't out, it looks like that you beat everybody in all of the other 3 candidates by about 10%. Is that the way you see the numbers right now?
To tell you the truth, I hide from the numbers, and I let the group total them up. So I don't have percentages, but it seemed to be a nice mandate to continue the way I've done.
Well, you should be very proud. It's a tough race. It was an active race this year. I said earlier when we were talking before, I don't think I ever saw so many roof racks.
There were a lot of roof racks, and I think the whole activity centered probably around the whole budget question. And there's a lot of feeling and a lot of activism, and every campaign ran hard. And always on election day, you just need some super people, and everybody's working for their candidates. And it's a nice feeling. And compared to last year, it was a gorgeous day.
Let me ask you a question. You said that there might have been a little bit of a mandate there. The fact that it looks like Steve Powers came in second, did you see any kind of a mandate with respect to the Proposition 2.5 question?
Could very well be. And a lot of the kinds of comments I've heard through the last few weeks had to do with balancing the ticket. I don't know whether that was a gender comment or an attitude comment, maybe both, that kind of thing. I don't know. When I speak of a mandate, it's not so much on the current issues, but once you've worked for 3 years, you have a certain style and a certain way of dealing with people and doing things, the second time around, you get the feeling either you're supported or not in the way you handle yourself. So I feel good.
Well, I don't think there's any question about that. From the way I see it, the numbers count, and I'm just very proud to talk to you so early after the win, and I think I speak on behalf of everybody here at the station and all the folks in Winchester, and really to all the candidates. To give up your time in public service is one thing, and to be involved in a campaign is sometimes doubly bad, but doubly good, depending on how you...
Right. I sometimes think we have the easiest part. I mentioned 3 years ago, if I'd really known what it takes your friends to run a campaign, I wouldn't have the guts to ask. And it came home again this year. Just so much work on the part. In my case, Ellen Spencer and Marshall Lance and Cindy Crumey. Oh, I'm forgetting names because I'm excited, but it was just super, just an awful lot of hours. I think the aggregate of hours in a campaign probably just about equals the aggregate of hours the selectman puts in 3 years.
Well, we hope you have a good time tonight, and
we were having a ball. I hope they're still there.
Yeah. Well, Judy told me that for those folks that are watching at home, there's the good liquor's down cellar if you want to go down and get it instead of drinking the stuff she's got up front there. So why don't you get back to your party, and we'll all say good night to you, and good luck in the next 3 years. Good luck for all of us. Yeah, because that's what it's all about. Thank you. And I'll switch back to Alan.
I'm not sure if we got an invitation to that party, but...
Well, I did.
You did. All right. Thanks, John, and congratulations, Judy. We do have some more hard figures here, and for them, Laurel?
Yes, we do have some hard figures, and they are for Precinct 4. Precinct 4 figures are as follows. Under Selectmen, Judith Musia received 370, Mark Lombardi 136, Stephen Powers 292, and Candace Margles 294. Under the assessor's race in Precinct 4, shapes up like this. Charles Shannon received 213 votes, David McLucas 159, and Eugene Rotundi 166. So in Precinct 4, at least, Judith Musia again topped the selectmen's race. And in the assessor's race, it looks like Charles Shannon received the top votes, 213 votes in the assessor's race. And I think we are going to have some totals and some definite figures very shortly. They're all being tabulated. We have gotten all the precincts at this point, and we're just rechecking our totals. And I think we can make some projections about winners now. Alan?
All right. Thanks very much, Laurel. And going back to our own in-house analysis here, Mr. Sullivan has indicated to me that he's ready to go out on a limb on the assessor's race.
Yeah, I think so. I think the race was closer than I predicted up front there, but I think my projection right now would be that the winner is going to be Mr. Shannon. And I think probably in the second slot will be Mr. Rotundi. And
You're talking about a big win or a
I'd
horse
say
race?
again about 10%. 10% between the Mr. Shannon topping the ticket and beating Mr. Rotundi by about 10%. And that was a very hotly contested race. I think you'll see, though, that the number of votes cast for assessor, surprisingly enough, appear to be less than the number cast for selectmen, which means that a lot of people went into the booth, voted for the moderator, and the selectmen, and then went home.
And that was it.
You know, the numbers I'm seeing, at least at quick pass here, would indicate that maybe at least a third of the people missed the opportunity to vote for assessor. That's not necessarily unusual, I don't think, because the race that got all the attention usually gets the majority of the votes.
Is a selectmen's race, yeah.
It's going to be interesting to get the numbers from the town clerk, seriously, to see the number of blanks. And all kidding aside.
You have this fixation on
yes,
blanks.
I kind of hung up. Well, you know, I average, I tell you, and it's going to be interesting. I've never shared this with anybody, but, you know, I average about 20% blanks. And, you know, if you really think about that, that means that 1 out of every 5 person that walks by you in the street was in the booth, closed the curtain, and didn't vote for you. And didn't have any other choice. At least if you had a candidate running against you, you could say that was a choice between degrees of excellence or something like that. But I think the blanks in the selectmen race, so the thing is, it's always interesting to see if you can figure out how many people voted for only one candidate, which really helps a candidate when you do that in a 2-person race. And it's going to be interesting if we get those numbers to see how many people really went there and voted for only one candidate and didn't use their second vote. That's always fun to look. And sometimes it's a surprisingly large number. I would
think that happens a lot, that somebody goes to the polling place for their one candidate, votes for their one candidate, and leaves.
Yeah, but more important, in a multiple race, if you could vote for 2 candidates, like in the selectmen's race, and you only vote for one, then what you do is that you give that person an additional advantage because you don't give somebody a second vote, which, you know, that person
is that like a vote against?
It really is. It's like almost like getting 2 votes. Even though you don't get the 2 votes, someone else doesn't get one. And there has been more than one race won, especially on a city council vote in a large city. You don't see it too much in Winchester, although I don't know if we'll be able to calculate it, but I would be willing to bet that the bullets will run close to 10%.
Well, let's take a look. I'm told that we have our selectmen totals up now, and let's look at the final totals in the selectmen's race. Laurel?
Okay, we do have totals, and from the totals, it appears that Judith Musia and Stephen Powers have won their 2 selectmen slots. Judith Musia received 22 76, 2,276 votes. Mark Lombardi, 1,224 votes. Stephen Powers, 2,052 votes. And Candace Margles, 1,618. And I believe that, Mr. Sullivan, your prediction was right. That seems to be about 10% between Judith Musia and Stephen Powers. And we have now the totals for the assessors. Charles Shannon received 1,406 votes. J. David McLucas received 966. And Eugene Rotundi, 1,270, which makes Charles Shannon the winner, and again by about 10%. So that's how it shapes up. Okay, Alan,
Great. Okay, we got our final totals in here.
What does all this mean?
Well, you know, I'm going to, as an anchor, I'm just going to pass that right over to John Sullivan.
I would think this is kind of an upset for Mark Lombardi not to be reelected.
Yeah, I do. I'm kind of surprised when you see the final numbers here. Just to recap, you know, you've got Judy Muger with 2276 and Steve Powers with 2052. And Mark is down there at 1224. If you look at the way he drew in every precinct, with the exception of Precinct 1, which I believe is his home precinct, Mark drew about 125, 135, 140 votes all the way across town, which said that, you know, he has a certain percentage, and a large percentage of the folks agree philosophically with Mark, but that number didn't fluctuate except in his home precinct, and he apparently didn't appeal to a broad enough base support here. And as an incumbent, I'm kind of surprised to see that. On the other hand, you know, if you look at, for example, Steve Powers' vote, he drew consistently across the town in every place about the same level, with no real precinct standing out as significantly higher. That's a strong base support. He's running 250 in Precinct 6, actually ran up as high as 312 votes. So
We'll be back in just a couple of minutes with John Sullivan, election analysis, and Laura Lucas with election results, and with me, Alan Iden. Stay with us.
All over Massachusetts, people are making great little decisions. Ed is having his blood pressure checked. John is choosing a healthy lunch instead of a burger and fries. Carol is choosing not to smoke. Everyone is making great little decisions every day.
And they all add up to keep you in your best state of health.
You wouldn't have to know the early warning signs of a heart attack if you had an emergency medical team living with you around the clock. But there's not always a doctor when you feel pain, pressure, or discomfort, or a nurse when you're having a hard time breathing, or emergency medical technicians when you're nauseous, sweating, or feeling weak. What's left? Your telephone. If you suffer any of these early warning signs, use it fast. Killing time, waiting to feel better, could kill you.
Hello, this is Nancy Reagan. The children of the world are the future. But for 1/3 of them who are threatened by hunger and disease, the future isn't very bright. UNICEF is helping to save these children. UNICEF's goal is to vaccinate all children by 1990. Let's help them reach their goal.
This Halloween, call 1-800-972-5858 for information on how you can help UNICEF.
There is no magic pill to keep you from getting cancer. But there is something you can take every day that might help. The right foods. Foods with less fat and more fiber. And if you eat plenty of green and yellow vegetables, fresh fruits and whole grains, and cut down on alcohol too, you may actually reduce your risk of getting several forms of cancer. Now that's not so hard to swallow, is it?
Okay. If you're going to hand the results back,
I
or
beg
you
your
can-
pardon.
Yes, really.
Sorry to interrupt your show.
Yeah, really. Everybody's got a job here, and let's go back to Laurel. Hers is giving us our totals, and let's get some more from her.
Okay, we're going to recap the totals that we gave you right before we went to break, and here they are. In the selectmen's race, here's Judy Musia has 2,276 votes, and Mark Lombardi has 1,224. Stephen Powers has 2,052, and Candace Margles has 1,618. So it looks like in the selectmen's race, these are unofficial results, of course, but Judith Musia has come in first, followed by Stephen Powers. To repeat those numbers again, 2,276 for Judith Musia, 1,224 for Mark Lombardi, 2,052 for Steve Powers, and Candace Margles received 1,618. We now have assessors' totals. To recap the assessors' race, Charles Shannon received 1,406 votes, David McLucas received 966 votes, and Eugene Rotundi received 1,270 votes. So in the assessors' race, unofficial result is that Charles Shannon has received his 3-year term. Some of the other results that we have, I just want to mention one in particular. It seems that John Sullivan is going to be our moderator for another year. He received 3,059 votes, and that's certainly more than anybody else received.
Impressive, very impressive.
But could I do a public service announcement? Would that be appropriate?
Public service announcement.
I have just added up the votes of the selectmen, and if you add up all the selectmen's votes, there was 7,170 votes cast. You could vote twice, which means that there were 3,580 people voted for selectmen at a minimum, assuming no bullets, which means if I got 3,059, there's 431 people that actually had a chance to vote against me and chose to do it, and I would just like to say thank you to you, those folks at home and someday I'll run for the Board of Assessors.
That is, I'm not
not
sure if that's a
paranoid.
public service announcement, but maybe if those maybe if those people who didn't vote for Mr. Sullivan for one reason or another would like to
Write in.
maybe come down to the studio or call in or send him a letter, maybe at his home address or call him at his home phone number. Can we put that up? We don't have that. Well, do you have some other thoughts on, now you're seeing some of the complete results, I'm sure that you've had a few minutes to look them over and...
Yeah, two things. An observation on the assessors race. Mr. Shannon, this is his first time as a victor. He worked hard one time before going out.
He ran for selectman.
He ran for selectman once and got some visibility, then got appointed to the Board of Assessors, and people must think he's doing a pretty good job starting out. They returned him. I think it's interesting that Gene Rotundi pulled 1,270 votes to come in second. Gene is a guy who's given a lot of his time in public service. I don't think put that much time into the campaign, but people remember Gene, and Gene has helped a lot of people over the years, and I think Gene felt that maybe he could be of assistance here, and he came awful close. I mean, he's 140 votes. I don't know if you folks know Gene Rotundi. I think he has 13 children, and
they all of voting age and in Winchester?
Yeah, they. If they're not, they could have turned it around. And then there was a newcomer in the race, Dave McLucas, who polled 966, and that's a real respectable vote from a guy who he's an appraiser here in Winchester, and chose to put his name in line for public office and worked very hard. Had a lot of friends out there working for him, and I think we haven't seen the last of him. He was a good candidate, articulate, and obviously very technically capable, and a guy that I think we haven't seen the last of, and I would hope not here in Winchester. The only other thing, we did have some numbers on the school committee race. There were 2 openings there for 3 years and only 2 candidates, but we do have some numbers that you might want to share with the folks on what the outcome of that was.
Yes, well, these 2 candidates were Donna Brandt Landry and Edward O'Connell, and the totals appeared to be 2,390 for Ed O'Connell and 2,601 for Donna Brandt Landry. So Donna Brandt Landry pulled in about 211 votes more than Ed O'Connell in the school committee race. Of course, both of them will get those seats because there were only 2 vacancies and 2 candidates. And I think that's the only other interesting race there. What about that, do you think, Mr. Sullivan? I'm sorry, did I bypass you completely, Alan?
Once again, the man in the middle.
I just got criticized.
I was yes. I was just saying that if anybody should know the rules, you know, Robert's rules. I guess Robert's rules don't apply here, but the rules of the House, it should be our town's moderator.
That's right. And
you were severely chastised
I went
for that.
right by you, and I apologize for that. But moving right along. Laura, let me answer your question. I think another interesting thing, Alan, is that the Board of Health race only had 1 candidate, and that was Dorothea Soper. And I just scanned the list that you passed over to me, and she was a very high vote getter, Laura. I think she had
509 votes.
And that was one of the highest, that and Lane McGovern for the library trustees were one of the people that were unopposed, but that's really an indication that usually that people think that you've done a good job or are doing a good job if they take the time to cast a vote for you.
That is another self-serving.
No, I didn't mean it that way because I'm first on the ballot. These people are way down at the end of the ballot, and somebody went down there, and I think if you look at those people, that some of them there got some very high tallies, which is very unusual when you're unopposed, and I think that she obviously is well respected for a tough job in the Board of Health. That's one of those boards
Is she an incumbent?
Yes, and you really don't have a lot of visibility there. You just put in an awful lot of time in something that is usually more controversial than not, and does a good job at it. And obviously Lane McGovern comes from a background of public service here, particularly in the school area for many years, and is now back in the library trustee slot. And I think people must have been glad to see that happen.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I've just been informed that we have a report coming in right now from Steve D'Onofrio, and let's go to that right now. Steve?
Thank you, Alan. We're here at Myopia Hill Road, and with me is Candy Margles. And Candy, you've got the news, you've seen the numbers, and unfortunately you won't be sitting on the Board of Selectmen, but you'll still be very involved with the Finance Committee.
That's right. With the budget decisions that we're going to have to make and recommend to this town meeting, it's still a very important position to have, and I still have a lot of work to do on the Finance Committee. And as many people know, that the fiscal situation for next year is going to be even tighter than it is this year. So it's still a good, important seat to have, and I look forward to the work that I'm going to have on that board.
Well, this is your first experience going for selectmen, and barring the results, what are some of the highlights when you look back, or some of the laughs that you've had with the crew?
Oh, well, I don't know if I can recap that quickly. It has been a tremendous experience. I have no regrets on this campaign. I had a terrific group of people, and people know by the visibility, the enthusiasm, and the support that I had, and it really is just the people. I love them. They were wonderful. That, I think, is the most positive experience. It has been a crash course for me in terms of public speaking. I don't have a lot of public speaking background, so I've got that background. So it was an opportunity to pull together my political thoughts. Mostly it was just the people that I was working with. Tremendous bunch.
Do you think that working on the Finance Committee prepared you for the race leading right up to today?
I think my work on the Finance Committee is what brought me into the race in the first place. Seeing the situation and how we really were not dealing with the situation, it became frustrating. we were told last spring that we were going to be up against 2.5 this year, and yet it took us so long to begin working and dealing with it. It was like an 11th hour attempt, and we still haven't decided. Well, the decision has been made how we're going to deal with it in the form of cuts, but I still feel uneasy as to the answers that we're getting. So yes, the Finance Committee has been a big boost in me getting this far.
Mm-hmm. Well, I remember a year ago I talked to Steve Powers, who was disappointed because his first chance to run was unsuccessful. But as I heard from the group downstairs, they said, hold on to those buttons and those bumper stickers. We'll be back. Is that true? You'll be back next year, do you think?
Well, decisions like that I don't believe should be made at this time. We really need to wait and see what the issues are before us and actually who the candidates are. I am interested in it, and I do feel that I have something positive to offer the town, and I do enjoy the political involvement, so that's quite a combination there. But like I said, we'll hold off on that decision until later.
Okay, well, Candace, thank you, and we'll still, as we have said, we'll see you at the Finance Committee meetings, and you'll still be very much involved with town meeting coming up in just a month or so away.
Right, okay, thank you, Steve.
Okay, let's head back to Ellen Iden and the rest of the crew at the studio. I'm Steve D'Onofrio for Decision 88.
All right, Steve, thanks very much, and let's give some credit to our road crews out there. The people you see on the camera are not the only people involved in this effort tonight. There's a lot of behind-the-scenes work. And behind the scenes, do you have any behind-the-scenes comments on the selectmen's race at this point? Or any of the other races?
Just one.
Or any other comments on town politics in general? Or
how much time have I got?
You want to talk? You want to talk maybe about the presidential race?
Yeah, well, why not? In fact, we ought to see if we can. I mean, we've done so well. I'm amazed at how fast we got the results, and we're able to make a projection here based on really the staff that is here at Continental Cable that went down and got the results and got them run up here so we could start adding them up. I do have an observation, too, really, on the selectmen's race, and really to Candy Margles and Mark Lombardi. Candy first, she just spoke with Steve, and you know, she's a new face, really, in the elected political circles, and I think ran a real nice campaign, and one that I think got a lot of people's attention. I mean, she polled 1,600 votes, and first time out, and has been really not really that visible to the general public, except to those that were close to the town government. And I think we'll see her around again. And then really the next one, and I think maybe even more important, is a comment on Mark Lombardi. Mark, without question, represents very eloquently a philosophy on government that has to be represented in this town, and a guy who has done a good job in articulating that. I mean, he obviously is fearless in his opinions, and I just would hope that, and I think there's no question that Mark will look at this not as an end to his political career, but in Winchester. But I hope that and expect that he will maintain a strong voice in town government, because you know, the needs of the public are from all different sectors and different opinions, and as Mark is one of the few people that I've known in politics that really has the courage of his convictions and represents clearly a segment of public opinion in here that is going to be needed in the future, if not just this year. So I think that that Mark, I don't think we've seen the last of Mark either. I certainly hope not.
Yeah, I think as an observation, you have to say Mark's feelings, his opinions engender strong feelings, pro and con. But I think a lot of people respect him for the courage of his convictions, and whether they agree with him or not, he's a pretty straight shooter. He says what he believes in, and he doesn't play to a particular audience. I was at a chamber forum a couple of weeks ago for the selectman candidates, and he really took the chamber to task but you really have to feel it. You know, he says what he feels, and you know, I think we need that in the town, and I tend to agree with you. We haven't seen the last of him, and let's hope we don't, because that is kind of the process here.
Yeah.
My feeling is pro and con.
Do we have any final figures on what the turnout was?
I don't know.
It appears the turnout
I'm looking to you for those.
It appears the turnout was higher than last year at least. I don't know if we have any figures on that, but I wonder if that had made any difference in terms of the vote total, the fact that there were more people coming out. Do you think there are any particular candidates who would have benefited by a larger turnout?
John?
Well, I think we said up front that that if there was a large turnout, that it would probably benefit the newcomers, and I think in this case that we know we had at least 3,580 people come to the polls, and I think we said that the number, we guessed up front that the number would be 30%, which is 3,600, and I think when we get the numbers on the blanks, we'll probably see that there were maybe 3,700 people voted, which appears to be a couple of percentages above last year, and probably accounted for that is the good weather, and so I think it's kind of a real interesting result. You know, I'm not sure I can really analyze what it all means. I know what it means for Judy Muger and Steve Powers if they're going to spend the next 3 years representing us, but I'm not sure that I can read all the tea leaves in what that means.
That's what you're here for. That's
yeah,
what we've got
well,
you here for.
you get what you pay for.
Same here. Okay. I think we're going to. I understand that we have yet another candidate coming down here, and in the interest of keeping everybody tuned in, we're not going to tell them who that is right now.
Keep them
yeah,
guessing.
but
we're not even telling whether it's a victorious or a defeated candidate.
Well, Jesse is
You know, we get him on the show, and he spills the beans. He can't keep it quiet. But we're going to be back in just a moment. We're waiting for that candidate to come down now, and like I say, we're going to tease you to keep our audience here. So John will do another one of his brilliant interviews in just a moment, right after this. Stay with us.
Museums are special places. They're really storehouses for all the knowledge man has collected. But they don't tell us much about what we haven't learned. Some children have an eye disease called retinitis pigmentosa. Thousands of other people have RP and don't even know it. Night blindness and tunnel vision are often the symptoms. Total loss of sight is often the result. There's no known cure for RP, but there is hope. Thanks to RP Foundation Fighting Blindness, researchers are looking for answers to the cause, prevention, and treatment of RP, and self-help groups and referral services are operating around the country, all supported by RP Foundation Fighting Blindness. Hopefully, someday children won't have to fit a lifetime of seeing into a few short years. For more information, call RP Foundation Fighting Blindness at 800-638-5682. They're working toward the day RP won't leave anyone in the dark.
There's a childhood cancer treatment clinic at the Massachusetts General Hospital. The Charlie Davidson Leukemia Fund helps support the clinic, and it provides for some extras for the children. 100% of your contribution benefits the children at the clinic. I know because I've been going there for 6 years. The fund could do more with your help. Please help Charlie's friends keep fighting. Please give to the Charlie Davidson Leukemia Fund.
You've got the best on Continental.
Local programming on TV19 is a vital part of the service you get from Continental Cablevision. From coverage of Winchester's local sports teams to important municipal meetings, from topical discussion of public affairs to the presentation of homegrown entertainment, you really do get the best on Continental.
welcome back to TV 19's live election coverage. For those of you who are just joining us, we want to recap the winners tonight. The winners in the selectmen's race, we had 4 candidates running for 2 seats. Topping the ticket was Judy Mucha. And in second place was Steve Powers, also elected to a 3-year term at the Board of Selectmen. Runners-up were Candace Margles and incumbent Mark Lombardi. In the Board of Assessors race, we had 3 candidates vying for 1 seat on that board. The winner in that race is Charles Shannon, runner-up Eugene Rotundi, and second runner-up, sounds like a Miss America contest, David McLucas. Maybe Laurel, if we can persuade Laurel to recap who the candidates are in the other posts coming up on there. Even though they were unopposed, you might just want to recap that. Laurel?
Okay, I would be glad to recap that for you. As you said, they were unopposed in these seats, but people may want to know who they were. Of course, there is the moderator seat, and John Sullivan was handily reelected as our town moderator for another year. In the Board of Health race, there was 1 vacancy for 3 years. Dorothea Sopper is going to be in there for another 3 years. In the Planning Board, there were 2 vacancies, both for 3 years. Judith Wiegand and Joseph Guarnata were running for those 2 seats, 2 vacancies, and they were both going to be back for 3 years. In the School Committee, there were 2 vacancies. Edward O'Connell and Donna Brandt Landry, who were both incumbents, ran for those 2 vacancies, and they are back in for 3 more years. Under Library Trustees, there was 1 vacancy for 3 years, and Lane McGovern is in that spot. Under Housing Authority, Joseph Riga has the 1 vacancy for 5 years, and also running unopposed for the vacancy for a 2-year term, R. Bradford Bailey was reelected in the Housing Authority. So that pretty much wraps up the uncontested races, and of course there's no surprise there.
Okay. Thank you very much, Laurel.
Thank God.
One of the very hot issues this year has been the Proposition 2.5 override, the question of whether it should have appeared on the ballot, and who is in favor and who is not in favor of it. We're facing somewhat of a budget crisis. John, do you think that affected the election results tonight? The candidates stand on 2.5?
Yes, I think it did, and I'm not sure though that the selected candidates necessarily reflected that. But I think if you look at the Board of Selectmen's discussion on whether or not the town should vote on Proposition 2.5, as I recall now, and this may not be completely accurate, Judy Muji was in favor of override and Mark was opposed. And then jumping into the race, Candy Margles, I think came in with the idea that, you know, if it had been her call, she would have been a yes, as I understood it. And Steve Powers jumped in there and kind of bridged between the 2 positions. He said he was not really for a full override, but he could vote for an override restricted only to the capital program. So he kind of fell in the cracks between Mark and Judy and Candy, and then when all the votes are cast, it comes out that we've got 1 yes and 1 half yes, as opposed to 2 yeses. So I don't think Proposition 2.5, I think it greatly influenced it because, you know, a 2-person race is decided, in my opinion, in many times by the second vote that you cast. Is that everybody usually goes in with their favorite candidate, and 80 and 90% of the people cast their second vote, and it isn't all necessarily the same. People that support Mark Lombardi, for one, may vote for Steve Powers or Judy Muja or Candy as their second vote. People who vote for Judy Muja might give their second vote to Mark or to Candy or Steve. And so that it's pretty hard to distinguish where the Proposition 2.5, but it definitely was a factor here, because I think the hidden agenda in this election and the interest on it was whether or not at the end of the day this town is, if not this year, next year, is going to be prepared to continue to cut the budget, particularly in the school area. And I think you're going to see a very active 12 months, which will probably culminate in a very active election 12 months from now, maybe in not only the selectmen again, but in the school committee race. And I think the genesis of that fight will be Proposition 2.5. If you know, every city and town now is beginning to be. This is not a Winchester problem anymore. It's Proposition 2.5 is something that, in one guy's opinion, was a great idea, and is an idea that has worked. And it's an idea, however, that's going to have to be continuously evaluated. And cities and towns are feeling the crunch. The city of Boston felt it 2 years ago. Winchester, Wellesley, and a lot of school systems are beginning to feel it every day. So we're going to see it in this town, and it's not going to be too far away.
Let me ask you this: you're going to be faced with the prospect of battling with this at town meeting. Or I shouldn't say, maybe battling isn't an appropriate word. You're going to be grappling with this question. You're going to have a slightly changed Board of Selectmen there. This issue is going to come up this spring. Is it going to be as a warrant article? Is it just going to be?
No, I think
how are we facing that?
The way I see that, and this is the political agenda for the spring of '88, is that there's going to be a budget put before the town. That budget is going to fall within Proposition 2.5, or the town meeting. It's going to have to. If it doesn't, we're going to have to find a vehicle to go to referendum. And I think the selectmen and the town manager are bringing in a budget. If I heard their recommendation at the special town meeting, they'll be bringing in a budget that will be within Proposition 2.5, and it'll be up to all the folks out there and the folks on the various boards in the town meeting at the end of the day to decide whether or not the cuts that are recommended are the ones that are going to stand at the end of the day.
You anticipate perhaps a long and difficult town meeting?
Any
longer or more difficult than usual?
Yes, I think that there is, there's a high probability that that unlike the last couple of years, there are going to be some programs that are going to cause some very serious debate unless somehow through a change in the revenue posture the town can figure out a way to do it without cutting some major programs. I think if we get into cutting teachers and cutting policemen and DPW workers, we're going to have some pretty heavy debate.
I should remind everybody viewing, since we have a captive audience here, that we do carry the town meeting live, gavel-to-gavel coverage right here on Channel 19. And it is important, especially with the topics that we're going to be grappling with, that if you don't have to come down to town meeting, unless you're a town meeting member, of course, but it's important that you watch town meeting and understand where the cuts are going to be made and why they're going to be made, and perhaps use your influence or give your input to your town meeting member as to what and where the cuts should be made. We're going to take a moment here for those of you who are just joining us to recap some of the results once again in the selectmen's race. For the two candidates are running for. We have two candidates for 4 positions on the Board of Selectmen. The top vote getter was Judy Muja, and coming in second was Stephen Powers, both who are elected to the Board of Selectmen. Runners-up were Candace Margles and incumbent Mark Lombardi. In the the assessors race, where we had 1 vacancy and 3 candidates, the winner in that race was Charles Shannon, and the runners-up were Eugene Rotundi and David McLucas. And now we have a candidate here in the studio, and we're going to switch right now to John Sullivan. And John, you are there with yet another successful candidate.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to introduce a face known to at least 2,000 folks here in Winchester. The winner of a 3-year term here in Winchester at the Board of Selectmen, Steve Powers. Steve, congratulations.
Thank you very much, John.
I'm sure you're excited about it, and maybe you could tell us, did you expect to win this big?
I thought that it really would not be a close one. I thought that 2 people would win clearly, which is exactly what happened. I thought people would be able to differentiate between the candidates and come up with clear. I didn't think that it would be that close. I either thought I was going to win by a lot or come in second by a lot or maybe lose by a lot and not have a credible candidacy. So it came out about the way. I want to congratulate Mr. Lombardi and Candace Margles for a good campaign, hard-working campaign, Judy Musia. I think that I'd like to make one comment on the sort of slanted side, in that the editor of the Winchester Star does not pick candidate. The people of the town do it in voting, and I think that he might well take note of that. But that's my only negative on it. I do want to thank all of my people that came back the second time. I think it's very important to come back the second time. It is tougher to mobilize yourself and get going, to get up there and go. But at this point, I'd say that it's definitely worth it. I look forward to working with the Board of Selectmen and give my expertise from a business standpoint to try and work on the budget. And I know we have a big problem, and I think that I can help in my way, and I think that we do somewhat balance the board. But I think the people have talked and given their decision, and boy, I'm real happy with drawing better than 2,000 votes. I think that the work is, they see you out there working, and I think that you have to do it.
Steve, what do you think differentiated you from the other two candidates? Do you think there was one particular issue or one philosophy that, or anything that you offered that maybe gave you that type of a victory?
I believe, John, that if people read the articles, that I was against the general override but would consider a debt service override if necessary. I think those that were astute enough to realize the difference saw that at least it was a somewhat flexible position. I believe we can balance the budget in fiscal '89 at town meeting, and hope that we can, working all together with the boards. But I think that at this point, we do not need a general override, and that debt service, little by little on the side, by whatever part town meeting wants to give, so that the people have a vote on the referendum on each issue, is the way it should be done. And I think the people did get that message, and I think that might be the reason for my vote. I think the seniors feel that I will protect them, and I don't want to drive them out of town, and that's for sure. I've been around for 35 years, and I think that all helped. But I don't think a combination of things. I think there were clearly, seemingly, two candidates that would consider an override, two that were against a general override, and again, it's the general one that bothers me. The general override being you can't go backwards once it's there, the debt service being outside, and I think that that's the way I look at it. But all in all, that probably would have been the differentiation, except maybe, someone will want to say, well, 2 women, 2 men, you have to have a balanced ticket. I have confidence in the people of Winchester that they can elect the right people.
Well, very good, and I think we're all excited for you. I know it's a fun night for you, and I'm sure you want to get back to your family and friends. You ran a great campaign. You were very visible. I know as a jogger, I saw you some early mornings out in front of the newspaper store or walking up by the dump early in the morning, unless you were just getting home, I don't know, but you look like you were handing out cards.
Thank you, John, and I do again want to thank the hardcore people that really stuck with me, and also some new people that I believe are for good government, and I believe I am for good government, and I believe the board will work together and we'll have a stronger board. I believe that this board is going to have to face some tough issues, and I think that we'll be up to it, and hopefully, we can overcome it, but I believe that budget will balance for '89.
Well, congratulations again, and good luck to you, and I'm sure I speak for everybody down here and those folks at home that say good luck, and as I said to Judy, your good luck will be good luck for the town too, and we wish you have a good 3 years, and look forward to seeing you in action at town meeting. And I'll turn it back to Alan.
Thank you, John. We want to add our congratulations to our new selectman-elect, Steve Powers, and offer him our best wishes. I also want to compliment John on keeping firm control of the microphone during that interview. He's got a great future ahead here at Channel 19. So, and we'll give him a moment to get over here. Be seated. All right. Microphone, it'd be tragedy if we couldn't hear you.
Place you want me to do the closing prayer or something?
I had another observation there. I was watching you interviewing Steve, and it's always interesting to see a candidate on a sunny day after he's run. You notice the sunburn?
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. You know, you can always tell a successful candidate's been out there.
Out there working in the sun.
Working
That's
working
right.
the votes, working the polls.
Yep.
And anyway, you notice how pale we are here. We've just been sitting here baking under lights and working very hard to bring you our results. And anyway, I think we're just about to wrap up the evening here.
That's just about it, Alan.
Any closing thoughts aside from the closing prayer?
No, I'd like to say good night to Laurel. If
Oh.
do I have to go through you?
No.
Good night, Laurel.
I'll consider myself. I'll consider myself put in my place. And then we'll just cut you out. Thank you. We do want to thank all of our the crew that you don't see, the crew in the control room, and the people that aren't so visible. They work real hard, really hard tonight, and the people running around collecting our vote totals from the schools. That's a thankless job too. So we'd like to thank them. The people, our reporters, who are out in the field, Steve D'Onofrio and Ann Throckmorton, did a splendid job getting those reports back to us in a timely basis. And we also want to thank Bob Gallant for that taped report. Bob has been with us here on Channel 19 for quite a few years, and we always look forward to his insights on the situations in town. And that about wraps it up. Laurel, thank you very much.
Okay.
Laurel Lucas and John Sullivan, appreciate having you here.
Oh,
Always
it's a lot
a
of fun.
pleasure.
A lot of fun.
And we'll look forward to seeing you at town meeting, the town meeting show, which will be coming up when? Beginning of May? End of April?
And that night you'll work through me.
Yeah, I'll be putting my place, but hopefully I'll get you down for a few little sage comments after town meeting on town meeting wrap-up. And for all of us here at Channel 19, we want to thank you for joining us this evening and encourage you to check out our regular local programming. Thank you and good night. I'm Alan Iden.